You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hello, and thanks for joining Revolution 250, where we look at events that took place 250 years ago this week. This is from the American Revolution Podcast, just a short bonus episode to remind you about important anniversaries from the Revolution. This week, we remember the arrival of the ship Cerberus in Boston. In May of 1775, the British Army controlled Boston. Surrounding the city were tens of thousands of New England militia ready to force out the regulars for their attacks at Lexington and Concord. Commanding General Thomas Gage had arrived in Boston only a year before with orders to enforce the coercive acts, shut down Boston Harbor, and teach some humility to the colonists. Now he found himself under siege. Shortly after Lexington and Concord, Gage sent panicked requests to London asking for as many soldiers as they could send. But he knew that his message would take a month or two to reach London and several months more before officials could react and send help. Until then, he had to do whatever he could to hold off the provincials. Gage had about 5,000 regulars in the fall of 1774, but by spring that number had dropped to around 4,000. Only a few hundred of those losses came from battle. With the men trapped in Boston with insufficient access to fresh food and unsanitary conditions, regulars began to die at a pretty good clip from outbreaks of disease. Some also deserted. After Lexington, Gage immediately scrambled for reinforcements from Halifax and New York. That helped a little, but he still needed more. Fortunately for Gage, reinforcements from Britain had set sail well before the Battle of Lexington. The North Ministry had second thoughts about its decision in late 1774 when it told Gage to just get the job done with the men he had. Other reports over the fall and winter of 74-75 made clear that trouble was brewing. Now, while not sending the 20,000 men that Gage had requested, the ministry did decide to send a large force of soldiers and Marines to supplement the regulars in Boston. These reinforcements arrived in late May 1775, before word of Lexington ever even reached London. Combined, Gage's army grew back to over 5,500, and he would continue to receive reinforcements, bringing up to about 8,000 over the summer. The arrival of reinforcements, combined with the exodus of civilians from Boston, meant that the city had more soldiers than civilians in it by June. The new regiments from England came with 3 new major generals to assist Gage with his command. They had left London in April aboard the Navy ship Cerberus, the name of a mythological 3-headed dog that guarded the gates of hell. The irony of 3 new British generals arriving on a ship that was named for a 3-headed dog was not lost on either side. One commenter at the time made up a little poem. The Cerberus furrows the ocean like a plow. It bears Burgoyne, Clinton, and Howe. Bow, wow, wow. Okay, so 18th century wit needed a little bit of work, but give him a break. The ship dropped anchor in Boston on May 25th. The most senior of the 3 generals to arrive was William Howe, now Gage's second in command. He replaced General Friedrich Haldeman, who had orders carried on the same ship that were recalling him to London. Next in seniority was General Henry Clinton, and finally General Johnny Burgoyne. The ministry sent these officers to supplement Gage and ensure top leadership was putting down this New England rebellion. General Howe would, of course, eventually replace Gage as military commander in North America a few months later. He would command until 1778, when General Clinton would replace him. And part of the reason for Howe's replacement was the fact that he allowed the army under the command of General Burgoyne to be captured at Saratoga. So the arrival of the Cerberus would mark the arrival of the future commanders who would oversee the army throughout the end of major combat operations at Yorktown in 1781. I hope you've enjoyed this Revolution 250 moment. For more on this story, check out episode 62 of the American Revolution Podcast.